Hello and welcome along to the Rugby Pod. Big Jim and Goodey are here as usual to look back on a hell of a weekend of rugby and to head to the final round of the Six Nations. And we're brought to you this week by Suns. For those who haven't checked them out yet, they're a men's health brand helping guys with one of the key issues that they don't often talk about. It's how to keep their hair. They provide a range of licensed and medically proven products for preventing and treating hair loss via a monthly subscription direct to your door. They get results in 9 out of 10 men too, and you can take the consultation in less than 2 minutes. So just visit suns.co.uk and use the code RugbyPod20 to get 20 quid off your first order. Jim, you had a busy weekend, didn't you, mate?
Well, talking about Suns, before we get onto that, and talking about Jim's weekend, I saw Friday night. I thought I'm gonna put my friend on television. I'm just gonna stick him on. I'm gonna just look at him.
How good? How good?
Just going to watch him and just think of all the hardship that you've been through, Jim, in your life and how hanging you used to be as a bloke. Thank you, Sons. That's what I'm going to say, because you look great on TV on Friday.
How good, mate? How good did my lid look?
Thank you, Sons.
Yeah, and the barber. Not just Sons, my barber Stefan as well. But yeah, mate, it's down to Sons. Look at it. And I said before, acceptance is step one. And I knew that I'd smashed it because as I walked out the stadium, the steward looked at me and said, how do you do it? And I didn't even reply because I knew what he was saying was, you're an awful rugby player. How are you? How are you doing on a TV? How are you? Mate, maybe there was no one else. But no, you know what? When your lid is on point, Andrew, you'll know this because it weren't on point for many years. When it is on point, mate.
How could you feel?
Mate, you are turkeying left, right and centre, aren't you? You've got the shoulders back, you've got the triple chin on the chest, and, mate, you're happy. And that was me, Friday night and last night, being Sunday night. Mate, I was happy because the lid was on point. Thank you, Sons.
Big weekend, though, for you as well, outside of that?
Well, I mean, not really. It was a big week. I was up in Aviemore. I was in the Montens with the Prodigy son. Is it Prodigy?
Prodigal.
Good for me.
No, it's not Prodigy. Prodigal.
Oh, is it not?
Prodigy was good as well.
How good was that song? No, good for me.
I don't want nobody. Don't need no one.
There's no good for me. How good is that note? Anyway, it's back to the singing. So I was up in Aviemore in the north of Scotland. Mate, someone knew us or knew me and then knew us off the back of it. Up in the Montans, some guy's trying to get me to go in the local post office for a sausage roll, gives me a wink, says, love the podcast. Went in to get the sausage roll, absolutely shocking. But I
was going to say, is that what happens in Scotland? You get the wink for the old sausage roll? Did he want to play with your sausage?
I mean, you look at sausage roll, right, and you're thinking, it didn't look like a sausage roll. It looked more like a bat. You can't say bat, China. You can't say it. You can't say it. But that's what it looked like. It didn't look like a sausage roll. Anyway, who am I to judge? But yeah, I was up in Aviemore, mountain biking. It was lovely. Spent some time with JJ. There was no screaming with the twins. And then busy weekend, the ruggers. Sport, watching UFC as well on Saturday night. Mate, I've had a lovely weekend. I really have. And mate, it's good to be here. It's good to be back on the podcast. It's good to be home. It's coming home.
It's great to see you so positive, Jim. You've got a bit of work. You spent a bit of time with your favourite kid. Sod the other three, right? Don't worry about them.
No, mate, they're all right. Phoebe's all right. It's I don't know how, this is the thing. And I don't know how many of our millions of listeners have got 4 kids, right? It was never meant to have been 4. It was meant to be 3. And then we got 4. Mate, you can see why there ain't many people with any more than 3 kids. Most people go for 2. If you're lucky, and there is a bit of luck involved, you get, you have 2, boy and girl, perfect family, get a dog as well, bang it all on Instagram, look at my good life.
Goody, how was your weekend, buddy?
Yeah, it's good actually. I'm in the doghouse again, and I'll come to that in a second. But Saturday, obviously, it was great to be back working with people. So back up at the Andy Good Suite at the Ricoh Arena for the final.
Mate, how can they have stuff on? And I'm not questioning the rules and the laws, but you could host at the Andy Good Suite, and I've seen it's a big old suite.
Yeah. And,
there's appetite for people to go there, which is great. Obviously, a final. Exeter doing the same. They've obviously got people at the stadium, the corporate, socially distanced, wearing masks and stuff. You can smell a fart through a mask, but you can't catch COVID. And you can't be in the stadium. I don't get it. It's not me. I'm not trying to be
No,
blessed
it
with it.
is.
But
You're right. It is crazy, right? Because the crazy thing is you can't go into the stadium. So last week, the semi-final, Wasps did exactly the same thing. They had some corporate people there that had to have all the blinds down. So you couldn't go out into open air and watch the game, but you could do it in the corporate hospitality, which is deemed as a restaurant. So last week, it was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? 2 weeks ago, they did it as well. I was on holiday in Cyprus, but they had the suite with tables of 6, because that's the key number at the minute, isn't it? But previously, for the semi-final, you could mix households, but they had to have all the blinds down in the Andy Good suite, so you couldn't see the pitch, and they weren't allowed to go out onto the field.
Hang on, why have they got the blinds down? Why have they got the blinds down?
Because you weren't allowed to have any interaction with the game. So it was as if you were just in a restaurant. But on Saturday...
My God.
But these are the rules they're living by. These are the rules they're living by. But on Sunday... but on Saturday for the Premiership final, obviously Coventry went into Tier 2 of lockdown, and then you had to separate all the tables, and you could only sit on tables of 6 or less, but from people in your own household. So for me, it was a dream. I had a table for 1, but I didn't have to go and talk to anyone, apart from when I was on stage. But you had to socially distance. You could come within your own household bubble up to a table of 6, all socially distanced. Keep your mask on when you stood up walking around to the toilet or to the stage, but when you sat down, apparently COVID can't get you under 4 foot, so when you sat down at the table, you can take it off in any restaurant.
Maybe that is a thing. So genuinely, Matt, I will do everything. I'll go back to normal. I'll crawl around. I'm happy to crawl on my hands and knees.
Just crawl.
If you can't catch it down there. But,
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at it and genuinely, I'm like, how's that? I mean, I don't get it.
But it was all COVID secure. Everyone was temperature checked on the way in, like any normal restaurant, and that's how it was deemed. So you couldn't walk up to the bar to order drinks. You had someone come to serve you in full PPE, face mask, and all this stuff.
My word.
So yeah, listen, the club put a massive amount of energy and time into putting it on. Obviously, I went up to host it, and it was brilliant, except for Craig Maxwell Key's 2 decisions that we'll get to later. But I will admit, I'm in the doghouse, and you talk about twins, Jim. So that was Saturday. On Sunday, me and the missus, we thought we'll take the girls to one of those soft play centres, which are absolute carnage. They love it. They love it. They do love it.
Mate, you can't catch COVID in there, can you?
You can't. As long as you've got your mask on.
And as long as the blinds are down. Who knows?
Or if you sat down and you can't get it if you sat down. But
if you stood up and you help out to eat out but don't eat out, but eat out. But can you eat out? Or take your mask off and put it on. Right. Take your pants off, put them back on, put them over the top. Put your mask on over your pants. Who knows? Genuinely, all these comedians, right? And mate, you never know. I might be a comedian one day. All these comedians have got so much material. Look. If you don't laugh, you cry, don't you? That's what I'm saying. If you do not laugh, you cry.
Yeah.
They have got so much material to work with. It's laughable. Hey, Steve.
Yeah. But anyway, going back to Sunday, so we've taken the girls to a soft play place near us that they absolutely love, and the way they do it there, they've reduced the amount of kids and parents that can go in, so you have to book in advance, so there's less people than normal. But like anyone with 2 kids or twins or however it works, I don't know how you do this, Jim, because with twins you have to man mark them. Right, you take one each, and if sometimes they want to play together, and that's fine and easy, but when they go off in separate directions, you man mark them. So Carolyn buggers off one way with Olivia, and I've gone the other way with Isabella, and they've both gone to separate areas, and they're playing in these 2 different slide areas and all this stuff. And then, so eventually we're watching and playing and all this stuff, and obviously it was a Sunday, so the nanny was off, the chef was off, the housekeeper was off, the cleaner was off, so we had to do it ourselves, which was pretty hard work. And I'm in there, and the missus has bought a bag, and you have to sit at a table when you're not in the play area. And she bought a bag, she bought some snacks and stuff for the girls. Of course she had. Really good mum, really well prepared. And then after about 10 minutes, I'm with Isabella, and she goes, "Daddy, can I have a bar?" I say, "Of course you can." So we've got these flapjack bar things for kids in my missus' bag. So we walk back to our table, and I'm rummaging through the bag to try and find this bar. And all I see at the bottom of Carolyn's bag, and she'll kill me for saying this, was a tampon.
Manscaped. Oh, I thought we were going to say a Manscaped thing.
Well, it was a tampon that was in this bright green packet thing. So I
Tried to smoke it.
Rather immaturely, I said to Isabella, "Isabella, take this up to mummy and say, can you have this sweetie, please?"
You
So
horrible bloke.
she's got it. It's this bright green. It's obviously in a packet, and it looks like it could be a sweet, right? So she's walking around. She's like, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, can I have this sweetie?" And I just watched from 10 metres away, absolutely crying with laughter.
Daddy smoke it, daddy smoke it.
The horror on my missus' face when she saw, and there was some other mums there, and they all know what the crack is, right? And they were like, "Oh, bloody kids." And Carolyn just looks at me, gives me the filthiest look I've ever had in my life. And Isabella just kept running off, waving it above her head. Carolyn's trying to chase her around. And my missus said to me, she goes, "Why are you so bloody immature? What's wrong with you?" And all I could think of, I said, the only reason I'm this immature is because I hang out with Jim too much. So I just blamed it on Jim.
Mate,
if in doubt, blame someone else, right?
Mate, absolutely right. And actually, as we're talking about our interactions with our wives and kids, so because the twins are at the age where they run off in different directions, and we've got 4, obviously the twins and JJ and Phoebe are a little bit older. So normally in my mind now, so I'm quite a disciplinarian, which is crazy to think because I'm a bit of a joker, but I'm quite, hard on my kids, probably not too hard, but I want them to be respectful and listen to what mum and dad say, right? Nothing worse than
You want them to be quiet.
But they ain't going to be quiet. It's not even being quiet. More just like if you tell them to do something, they do something, right? But I've done that with JJ and Phoebe. It's got to the stage now where I am literally not in control of the situation. And for the last 2.5, almost 3 years, in my mind, when something happens or one of the twins runs off or crawls off or screams, I just say, fuck it. Like, that's what I say in my head. Apparently at the weekend, I've said it out loud. Like, I've just said it. I've just said, oh, fuck it. Like, let them run off. And Bex looked at me and said, what did you say? And I just said, I want it. I want it bad. But she knew I was lying. I'm at my wit's end, I'll be honest, with the situation we find ourselves in. But there we go. But hey, there was ruggers on, and that was the main thing.
Yeah, we got to the ruggers in the end. The Wasps ended up making it to the final. Goodey, and you want to talk about some refereeing
They got
decisions
absolutely hammered.
don't you,
They
mate?
got hammered at the weekend. Hammered.
Yeah.
Go on, mate. Let it out.
Well, the first thing we'll say, congratulations to Exeter Chiefs. What a performance over the season, both in Europe and the Premiership. And they're fully justified as winners. But there is a but, and there's a big but. As a game, it was a horrible spectacle, wasn't it? The weather was horrific, and that dictated how the game was played. The big thing, though, Wayne Barnes was meant to be referee. He's caught COVID.
How is he?
I hope he's okay. I really do hope he's okay.
I'm sure he is.
And I really wish he hadn't caught COVID as well, because Craig Maxwell House Keys took over. And he did all right at times,
I thought we were good. I thought, what's wrong, mate? Stop! Don't be this guy that makes excuses.
It would be no. Listen, Exeter deserved the victory.
As with the points, then. Go on.
On the balance of the game, they deserved the victory for scrum dominance, etc., how the game was played. But the penalty that he gave against Jack Willis to put Exeter 16-13 up was never a penalty.
I've watched
never
it.
a penalty.
Well, you said that to me on the phone. I've gone back and watched it today, maybe 4 or 5 times.
It's never a penalty. He's got his hand on the ball.
It's a 50-50.
He loses his right, but that's to the actual play. When you look back at it, it was a knock on. It wasn't even his hand. So he's given a penalty against Jack Willis to go 16-13 up.
Yeah,
Jack Willis had his hand on the ball the whole time.
But Jack Knowles there at the same time, so it's a ruck. So then you can't have your hands in the ruck.
But he's first man to the ball at the same time.
Mate, I'd say it's similar. If you're a Wasp fan, like you are, you're saying that. And look, for me, I would have loved to have seen it go into extra time. And I've watched it back, and this isn't me trying to be divisive and trying to start a debate. Firstly, they should have been in that position. It's a penalty on top of a penalty, right? So we love Jack Willis. He's in the England squad, great. But there needs to be a point where you're like, right, we've just given away a penalty. It's a 50-50 because Jack Knoll is there, and he is very good at the breakdown as well.
Yeah.
You're in front of the sticks, and we've seen Jack, and you're in the final. They're the things, and maybe that's the experience, the evolution. Man, I think
it was never a penalty, in my opinion.
All right.
But there you go. But then the second one, the worst one, is, and there's debate around whether this was a penalty or not. And Jim, this is your area of expertise. Eventually, Wasps get a penalty via Jack Willis again. An unbelievable kick from Jacob Umunga to take it about 10 metres out from the corner. They start driving the line out, and it's going slowly but surely towards the try line. Eventually, Jack Nyandel gets his way through, and the penalty goes against him for collapsing the maul 2 metres out from the try line, which you can look at different scenarios here. You can say, first and foremost, penalty against Jack Yandel for dropping a driving ball that was going forwards. There's got to be a yellow card. Minimum requirement, that's a yellow card. And then you can question whether it's a penalty try. Would the try definitely have been scored? And I'm not one for saying it should have been a penalty try. I don't think it should have. It was the first time they were driving towards the line. Jack Yandel should definitely got yellow carded, because if you're giving a penalty away for pulling down the maul 3 metres from the try line after it's gone forward 7 metres, has to be a penalty and a yellow card. Because lo and behold, the next line out, and that was where, got a feel for Ogre so much. It's a part of his game. He's worked really hard on it. Obviously, it slipped. The ball and the call were probably the wrong things to throw it to the back of the line out. But still, who was the guy that lifted Johnny Gray from behind to steal the line out? Jack Yandel. Should have been in the sin bin.
Mate, I genuinely, even if Jack Yandel hadn't lifted him, mate, it might have been Johnny
Oh,
Gray
I know.
just come up on the floor.
Yeah, I know, but there's the thing.
You're clutching at straws.
But it then changes. No, so if you've got Yandel in the bin, it changes your whole line-out defence where people stand.
But mate, all these things happen in all games.
Oh, I know. But what I'm saying is, Exeter deserve to win. But 2 big moments, you can't not talk about them.
Yeah, of course.
No. Absolute bullshit. And then ultimately the penalty, which was it should have been a yellow card, and off you go. But we can argue until the blue in its face. Bottom line is, Exeter won it. Should we have taken the 3 points? Some people will say, yeah, you should definitely have done that.
Hindsight.
But then you sat there and you go, the way Wasps have played all year, they've just backed themselves. So they believed they were going to score from the line out. That's how they've got to a final. That's how they did it. Were they guaranteed Jimmy Gopperth getting the kick over? The wind was horrific. It was from the touchline. But there you go. There's my rant. Exeter deserved champions. I can't believe people haven't questioned it should have been a yellow card, because it should. And here we are with Exeter doing the double, but fair play to them.
Joining us now is Exeter's Gareth Steenson. Thank you very much for joining us. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right. As you can see, I've got bags under my eyes a wee bit. It's been a big 36 hours. It's been amazing. But yeah, real good, real pleased.
Mate, you've still got your Exeter Chiefs stash on, mate. You've don't want to state the obvious, but
I've got to go to an interview on local TV now, so I had to wear a little stash.
Mate,
trust me, I have to wear it the whole time.
I was hoping you were going to tell me you've been in the same stash for 3 days and you've not slept, and that's why you've got bags under your eyes, because you're absolutely steaming still.
Well, I haven't slept, so but yeah, no, we've definitely enjoyed ourselves the last 2 days.
Mate, I bet you have, fully deserved. And obviously, look, it's kind of been building over the last few years, and a lot of people know your story and kind of how long it's taken yourself and the club to get where it's got to. Winning the double, mate, in the way that you did was absolutely amazing. So congratulations. No one can, deny you that. But for you personally, the celebrations, were they as good as you kind of expected and hoped for, or was it a little bit weird with your family not being there and probably kind of mixed feelings, or was it just absolutely buzzing the whole time?
Yeah, no, it was. It's difficult to see whenever you're at the game and you don't have loved ones there whenever you come off the pitch, and you go and everyone's going straight on their phone and they're FaceTime and all that sort of stuff. I actually FaceTime my wife and kids when I was in the changing room, which is quite nice because they get to see the trophy and stuff like that. But again, like once we got home, it was great to be able to go home and see them, have a few drinks with them in the morning, yesterday morning. And and then we just celebrated the rest of the group. We just all got together and we had a great time.
Well, let's talk about the celebrations then, because Exeter's renowned for sometimes doing a naked bus on the way home. I haven't seen any of the pictures, fully naked pictures on social media yet. Was it a naked bus all the way back to Exeter, or was it pretty civilised because of COVID?
There was a wee bit of, no clothes on at some point, so it wasn't the whole way. A bit of a sing-song on the way home and stuff, and yeah, it was a really good fun bus to be on, and it was real special.
And where is Johnny Hill? Well, I know where he is. He's in England camp, but mate, he's got A1 on us.
He's up in England camp, that's where he is, yeah. How he got there, I don't know. Early lift this morning, so fair play to them boys having to drive up today. I wasn't going to be ready to do that.
Obviously, the game at Twickenham at the weekend, you've been a huge part. I just mentioned it about the journey. I've been in a similar position with Saracens being on the bench and only just getting on when the game was unlosable. Obviously, the way the game unfolded, naturally, I think you would have been desperate to get on. How was that for you? How was that emotion of kind of being there on the sidelines, but naturally wanting to get on, but not getting on, but then lifting the trophy and getting a medal around your neck?
Look, to be honest with you, yeah, I'd love to get on the field, but I was just so happy that we won the game because it was so tight. Honestly, I thought it was going to go either way, especially whenever Jacob hit that kick to the touch. It wasn't looking good then. So I was just sheer relief. I think the only thing that could have happened was if I had come on and maybe missed the tackle or something and could see the But it was hard. It was definitely hard to watch.
And obviously, we saw the emotion pour out of you at the end of the game. It's the end of your playing career, as the masses know it at the minute. Ultimately, you're moving into the coaching department now, which is really exciting. But are you still thinking you might don the boots a little bit if required, or is it fully that's your time done?
I haven't really thought about it. I think the time is done. Would have to be really, really scraping the barrel for me to have to come back out and play again. But hey, you never say never. But I think now, just the way I feel physically, the end that I've had, you can't ask for a better end. And I'm pretty happy with what I've achieved. And like I say, I can definitely go into retirement. I'm a very happy man.
So if Cornish Pirates offered you 10 grand a week to go and play there, you wouldn't do it?
I don't think I could keep up with them, to be fair. So that's the big issue, Yeah, I've put too much into it there over the last few weeks. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And there's been a change of guard naturally as life goes and as professional sports goes. And Joe Simmons has transitioned into that tenure unbelievably well. You pushed each other really hard as he comes at the start of his career, 23 years old. It's ridiculous, actually, when you think about how old these kids are now that are playing at the highest level. The headline stuff today is around him and Sam not being in the 36-man England squad. What are your thoughts on that? I suppose you can speak probably more candidly about them missing out and why you think that might have been. Because look, winning the double, playing 10 in Joe's instance at the age of 23, mate, there ain't many stories of that about. Why do you think he's been overlooked?
I really don't know. Honestly, the kid, the improvement we've seen in him over the last year or so, he's driving those guys. He's driving around British and Irish Lions, around the pitch. He's winning doubles. He doesn't miss kicks at goal. It beggars belief a wee bit, if I'm being honest. I don't understand why, or even Sam's not in the squad either. Guys who perform every week at the top level consistently with the club. And that's all you can ask them to do. And when they're doing that, that's the only chance they have of getting in. So I'm hopeful that they get the opportunity at some point. I know Sam's done it, but for me, Joe is somebody who's going to push Exeter Chiefs on. And yesterday was just the start of him hopefully winning a few more big trophies with the club.
It's remarkable, isn't it, how young he is and how much he's grown into a leadership role. Everyone sort of looks at you, Steno, as the guy that's pulled Exeter all the way through to where they are now, and now Joe's obviously taken over. But with you moving into retirement, is there someone else knocking on the door as well for Joe, to challenge Joe for that role further in the future?
Yeah, well, we've got a young fella, Jack Walsh, who's come in now from Australia. He's here for the year to see how he goes. He looks a real talented prospect. A completely different player to what we normally have in an Aussie 10. We very talented on the ball, very wants to really play, which is good. And then we've got Harvey Skinner, who's just he's obviously played a couple of games now in the Prem. His experience of being in around the boys now and basically prepping the non-23, he's been doing that for basically the whole season. So there's definitely opportunities going to be coming up for these guys, and whenever we come back into the Premiership, and I'm looking forward to hopefully those lads pushing Joe, and the three of them together can push each other and only push the club forward.
Steno, what do you think is next for Exeter? Because you've been on a journey, unbelievable journey, to win the double from where you've come from the Championship. It's almost it is a fairy tale. There's talk of could a film be made out of this, but that's the Hollywood style part of it, which everyone would love to see. But what's next? What's the evolution? Is it go and do it again? Is it about bringing the academy through? Is it getting more guys playing for England internationally? We saw Tony Rowe came out in the media and said that actually it becomes more difficult when lads go on to play for England. You blood players at Exeter to play for Exeter. So what is the evolution? What's next? And I know I don't want to piss on the fire whilst you're still enjoying, obviously, the victory.
No, look, all those things you've just said, I think that's what it's about. It's about establishing ourselves now. We've obviously achieved something incredible. But there's no reason why we can't keep doing it. There's no reason why we have to sit still now. That's the one thing I've loved about being the Chiefs is the club, everyone about the place is about evolving. It's not about sitting still, and we're always trying to push our game forward no matter what way it is. So hopefully all those things you've just said, we can keep doing it. Just a bit of a dynasty for us. There's obviously going to be a certain stage where some guys will probably move on from the club, and it'll be about bringing the next group through, and that's what it's going to be about.
And then just looking at your role moving forward now, you've had 3 days on the absolute hose, celebrating back-to-back Premiership and European winners' medals, etc. And it's great to see. What does it look like now for you? Obviously, there's a short turnaround into next season. Pre-season will start in a few weeks' time. As a coach, are you going to be someone that still wants to train with the lads, or are you going to be someone that, like myself, doesn't bother and puts on about 4 stone?
I don't think I'll be doing that these days. So we've got a couple of weeks off now. I think the coaching staff go in 2 days before the lads, so that'll be an interesting day. I've got to go and try and find a desk or a chair to sit at or whatever. So I might try and push Julian Salvi out of his. It's exciting. I'm excited about my next step. And hopefully I can be part of big days again in a different capacity.
So I was just going to say, Steno, just before you go, mate, you were halfway through saying goodbye on the TV on the weekend after the final before Knowlesy grabbed you. Is there a message that you wanted to say to the millions or to the Exeter fans, to the faithful before you go?
Look, I just want to say thanks very much for all the support that I've been given throughout my entire career, and I've made lifelong friends, playing wise and people outside of the club, and I'm just very lucky to have been here at this time, and I'm just thrilled that I'm still getting to stay around in some capacity, and hopefully, there's still big days ahead for the club, and I'll still hopefully be there. But thanks for all the support that I've got. It's meant the world to me, and I'm truly grateful.
Top bloke, yeah, mate. He's a proper boy, isn't he? I haven't played against him, and all those Exeter boys are all good lads, aren't they? But Steno, he's come through, got them promoted 10 years ago. He's retired now as European and Premiership champion, and he loves the smash. So what a bloke, top bloke.
And we asked the question there where he was on the sideline, obviously as a replacement, and never got on. And we joke about it. I got on for a minute and a half in the final, and it was because the game was unlosable. I was watching that unfold for Exeter, wondering whether or not he'd get on. You kind of know that he probably won't get on because the game's so tight. But thinking, it doesn't matter if he doesn't get on. In my opinion, he has been that good for Exeter and given so much to the cause and shown so much loyalty that he doesn't even need to get on, in my opinion.
No.
That's kind of how highly I see that guy and what he's done for Exeter. And he's a good bloke. He's a rugby man. And he looks like he's aged by 20 years in 3 days. Did you see it?
He said he hasn't been to sleep, pal. And fair play, mate. Those Exeter boys love a drink as well. And that's part of their culture, isn't it? That's why they're so tight. You make bigger and more special bonds when you are drinking with your teammates, especially when you're winning. And the stories that come out of that stuff is great. And he looks like he's had about 50 pints of Guinness in 3 days and about 50 cigarettes as well, bless him.
Let's turn our attention to international rugby now, and it was chaos around England v Barbarians game at the weekend, wasn't it? With the big game being cancelled in the end. So, what do you guys make of that, and also the players involved?
Well, you said one word there: chaos, mate. What the actual fook, mate? What the hell, mate? I don't even know what to say. It's personally, I'm not really bothered. Personally, it doesn't really affect me. But for the wider game and the situation we all find ourselves in, mate, madness.
They've taken the piss, haven't they?
Mate, yeah, it's mate. You know what? Some of them are my mates as well. So, and again, I've not said the word for a while. Have I, Steve? Unprecedented. Steve to the guy in the garage. Mate, there's some things you can't do, right? And however you look at it, what they did, you can't do. And they've done it. Have they broken the law? Who knows?
Yes, they have, yeah. Unfortunately, they have.
Who knows?
I think the big thing around it is the BaaBaas there, and they all knew, every player knew the parameters of what they could and couldn't do because they were in a COVID secure bubble. And what they all signed up for, they were told every day, and this, my sources that are pretty close to things say that they were told every day what they can and can't do. And it's the bigger picture of what's been affected here. So it's not just those boys, you can't go to the pub and have a few beers, because there was 4,000 beers in the team room that they could have had. They could have done what they did in the pub, in the team room, but they all knew every day, they're reminded, you can't leave the hotel without permission and a security guard understanding and knowing why you're going, where you're going for. And apparently they were told that they had the only time they could go out of the hotel, except for to take them to training, so they weren't overcrowded on the bus. That was the only time they were allowed kind of out of the hotel. They were given 30 minutes each day to be escorted to a cafe in Hyde Park where they could grab a coffee and walk back so they could get some fresh air. But I think that the most disappointing thing is, obviously it came out on the Wednesday that they were out for dinner and going to the pub, and people look at that and go, that's not a problem, is it? It ain't a problem that they've gone to the pub and gone for dinner and all this stuff. But Tuesday afternoon, and I'll bring you in on this, Jim. Tuesday afternoon, they went to the pub and had a rake of beers. Now, you've seen the video that's been going around. They all knew that they couldn't leave the bubble of the hotel. They also, supposedly, and people have come and said all this over Twitter, it's a criminal offence that they're being looked at now because of what they did. The rules were clear that you can't be in a pub, in a group of more than 6. That's not a business meeting from, when you're mixing households as well. So, there's a whole load of things being looked at there. But the wider picture of it is a load of them apparently came out to the hotel and just denied it all. Just denied everything. Deny,
reaccuse, mate.
Yeah, and I know you tweeted that, Jim. Denied it all. And that's, I think, what's, there's a massive investigation going on now around the RFU. And I think that they'll come down pretty hard on them, because it's not just about the game for the RFU. It's not just about that one game where they've lost £1 million supposedly, TV and sponsorship, etc. It's more so, let's go back to something that we talked about the other week, that Matt Ratana, the police officer that was murdered, they were dedicating that game to him. BaaBaas had special socks made, in memory of him and things like that. And then you look around.
For fuck's sake.
Yeah, and you just look around a lot of the stuff around the clubs up and down the country and what everyone's going through, the sacrifice that everyone's going through, and they just want to go for a load of beers when knowing full well they were told every day they can't do that. So I think it's a disrespect thing, but also, and we'll bring your mate in here, I've talked him up for a few weeks, Jim. Old Swinno.
I would never have done that, mate.
But he's been playing well, right? And then, doesn't he do a rugby?
Hang on, mate. He got carried over the line in one game. That's it.
All right, okay.
And then all of a sudden gets called up to be a BaaBaas. Under who?
Under Sternberg.
His dad.
But here's the thing, right? So didn't he do an interview with Rugby Pass on Wednesday saying,
he did, yeah.
It's different this year. We just stay in the hotel, we're playing pool, we're having beers.
I gave him that platform. I gave him the platform to be able to showcase being at the Barbarians. I'm a 2-time Barbarian, believe it or not. Mate, give him the platform. This is your forum to outlay honesty and integrity and show the values of what rugby is. So
and it's just barefaced lies, right?
Lay it bare.
It's barefaced lies, wasn't it? Because he said that they all stay in the hotel. Next thing you know, they've been out the day before to a pub in Mayfair and on the
maybe the blinds were down, mate. Maybe they were down. Maybe he was on his hands and knees crawling around, mate. Who knows? We don't know the details.
I think the hard thing is there's a lot of them that lied about it until they got found out with CCTV, and then they were a little bit remorseful. But I think the hard thing is the Barbarians is seen as a fun environment, but the Barbarians were very grateful to be allowed to prepare a team in a COVID-secure bubble in relation to what's going on across the world, across the country. Look at Wales, mate. You're not even allowed to leave your house yet in Wales. You can't even go to the shop and buy clothes because they're non-essential, apparently. But the BaaBaas, I think what the most frustrating thing is, it's literally like they took the piss and said, we'll do what we want. We don't care about the COVID rules. And I don't think when you're in a position of privilege, that's great. Swinno's lied about it on rugbypass.com with his interview saying they all stay in the hotel, yet he's caught
He's
out.
A liar and a manipulator.
Apparently, the thing with Swinno, that he wants to train to be a barrister, doesn't he? I don't reckon you can lie on oath then, son.
Well, mate, hang on.
Maybe you can.
barristers and politicians, mate. That's what they do.
So who knows? Who knows? But it's not a great look for the game. You know, you think about all the pubs up and down the country that were, you know, wanting the game to go ahead so they could get some revenue through, and rugby clubs up and down the country get some revenue through the bar. It's just a respect thing, just, you know, out and out gone, isn't it?
So for me, there's a couple of points that I want to make. I've got a big part of my heart is with the Barbarians, two-time tourists, great people. There was question marks over the Barbarians in recent years, whether they still have a standing in the game with the way that they go about business. They absolutely do. Well, I did a documentary with Rugby Pass with them last year where Warren Gatlin was there. It was phenomenal, went down really well. So there's that part of it. And then the other part of it is what now? So what's going to happen now? So obviously Chris Robshaw, the fine gentleman standing in the game of rugby that he is off to America. Richard Wigglesworth, is he going to get a club now off the back of this? Is he going to get banned by the RFU? Is this going to happen in a disciplinary? Saracens, right? What's going to happen with Saracens? So they're going to go to the Championship. They've got loads of their players are going to be involved with the internationals. They might not play. When are they going to play? But the Saracens players that were involved are meant to be frontline players next year in the Championship. What happens if they play against Ealing or whatever and they've got no players?
Who are these guys?
What do you mean?
Who are the players that you're naming and shaming?
Well, I'm not. I'm saying, like, it's the Saracens players involved, isn't there? So
yeah, who are they?
I'm not naming and shaming people, mate. It's out there in the public domain. I don't need to name and shame, mate. It's out there in the public domain. But Swinno was well amongst it. Oh, God.
We shouldn't laugh, but you're enjoying the fact that Swinno's lied and been called.
Mate, it was laughable. Like, there was a part of it again. Like, you don't want to make light of the situation, but if you don't laugh, you'll cry. Mate, a game of rugby has been canned. There was talk of Crosdale making his debut, the Saracens fullback winger, making your debut to play for England against the Barbarians at Twickenham, and now he can't play. You know, the Fijian players that have been brought into the squad, what do they do now? Like, they're going to be Barbarians. Like, yeah. What do they do now? Like, and you know, the whole thing around the bloody bubbles and put the blinds down and wear a mask, don't wear a mask. We're going to pay you to eat out, but don't eat out. You can eat out, you can't eat out. So where are they going to go now? I mean, you know, the contact tracing is, mate, it's an absolute. It's just admin on top of admin, as well as the game, as well as, you know, where the proceeds of the game were going to go to, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I think the big thing on it is you talk about the game, and people talk about the fact that they were devious and went to the pub, didn't say anything. You know, you could have come in contact with people there and picked it up, inadvertently not known about it. You may have passed your test on the Tuesday that you didn't have COVID, but then in the interim, going to the pub a couple of times and getting absolutely blottoed like we saw on the video where Wiggy's going, fucking drink it! You know, that could then manifest itself in some of the guys picked it up. That then spreads it in and around the Barbarian squad. You play against England. England inadvertently didn't know that they'd all been out. Luckily, one of the England security guards sort of raised the red flag around it. It could go into the England squad, spread that around, then they wouldn't be able to play the Six Nations game next week. Or, you know, they play it and they have, you know, the COVID issues around the squad and they can't play the Six Nations squad game. Then the Autumn International tournament's fucked as well. So it's a much wider picture. Simon Rao-Louis on Twitter joined in. You know, he's part of the Fiji, I think he's team manager or something along those lines, senior guy at Fiji. And he was like, you mentioned the Fijian players. And those guys are given the privilege of playing and doing what they love doing in a COVID-secure bubble. And there's other people that could play really well for Fiji and then get a career out of it. You know, maybe a contract in France further down the line. So there's all sorts of different things and ramifications that these boys have just said, fuck it, let's go in the pub. And I get, you know, boys wanting to go to the pub, but this is 2020. You just cannot do it when you've signed up to have a COVID-secure bubble and, you know, get paid to play for the BaaBaas, which is an ultimate privilege, and have a secure bubble where you're not going to try and put other people at risk. And that's the big thing.
All I want to say is, to finish on this note, is that if Vern would have picked me and I would have done a two-step lob at the front against Australia,
2015 World Cup,
this journey would have been so different, mate. His journey would have been mapped out so different. None of this would have happened. I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
Eddie Jones is named a 36-man squad for the autumn now that the Premiership final is out of the way. So what do you guys make of it so far?
Yeah, I mean, every squad that Eddie picks, there's going to be players that we all jump on the bandwagon and say he should be playing, he should be picked, he should be in. And there's obvious ones, isn't there? Look at Exeter. The Simmons boys, we talked about it earlier, ridiculously good. You know, Simmons.
Would you have Joe Simmons in ahead of Jacob Umaga?
Well, this is the thing that I don't quite understand, right, with Eddie Jones. He's always just literally had Ford and Farrell as the 2 10s, right? There's never been anyone else. Like Cipriani had a little look a couple of years ago, but then since then, it's always been those 2 boys, which I get. And I understand they're Eddie's boys. He picks them. Now George Ford has got an Achilles problem. He ain't in the squad, right? He ain't in this week. So you've got Farrell, who's not played any rugby for a while. And when he has played for England, he's played 12. And then you pick Jacob Umaga, who Jacob's a really good young player. And you saw his try at the final at the weekend. You know, outstanding bit of skill, brilliant footwork, skinned Stuart Hogg, British and Irish Lions fullback.
I wouldn't say he skinned him. He went past him.
He absolutely rinsed him. Pulled his pants down.
Mate,
well.
He went past him just.
Mate, and Hoggy was still pissed from the week before, and he still got mad. He still played well. But here's the thing: you've got Joe Simmons, who has captained. We heard from Steno. He has captained Exeter to a double, and he's a leader, and he's playing ridiculously well. Why haven't you got all 3 of them in there? Do you know what I mean? Why have you got you've got 3 scrum halves. You've got Ben Youngs, Dan Robson, and Willie Hines. Yet you've only got 2 fly halves, of which Owen Farrell's one, the skipper, and you've got Jacob Umaga, who's got no caps. Get them both in the squad. Yeah, they're both quality players, and Simmons is unbelievable.
Without doubt, Eddie is influenced by the media in terms of not wanting to jump on the bandwagon. You could almost see Willis not getting in, but obviously there's some players that it's impossible not to pick, and he has got to that point. Like, I don't know. I think Simmons is brilliant, but I'm watching the game at the weekend. Again, you can't judge anything, can you, because of the weather? So there's nothing in it when you're watching the 2 10s. But you're in a better position in terms of, is Umaga better than Joe Simmons in terms of who's going to be in that position? But I'm the same as you. I thought he would have put all 3 in, because really it's about the future as well, isn't it? You always speak about that. But then who do you drop? Can you have 37? Or is it, is it 36? Is that, I mean, what is the rules is rules? I mean,
why has he made that decision though? What's his
do you know what? Jacob Umaga, he was in the squad as one of the youngsters up and coming, I think last Six Nations. And Jacob's played exceptionally well. I'm not, doing a disservice to Jacob at all, because he has been quality for Wasps. He's a real laid-back character, but he's incredibly skillful, a brilliant attacker. Defensively, there are some questions around him sometimes, but you've got a kid in Joe Simmons who's captaining, and I can't say it enough, he's captained the team that have won the double. You ain't captained by fluke. And
he plays like an international 10.
Yeah.
He's safe as houses. He's got an unbelievable kicking game. Like, as in...
His goal kicking, I think he's kicked about 33 on the spin now in terms of goal kicks.
But he does that week in, week out at the very highest level, and he's 23 years old. Not that Jacob doesn't do that, but he's almost, not like Cipriani, but he's a little bit looser. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like Freddie Burns, like that style kind of player, which is great to watch. Finn Russell. Whereas with England, you're thinking the way that South Africa beat them in that final is actually going forward. You'd want a 10 like Joe, or at least have him in the squad.
But I suppose the other thing is, and why I questioned it a little bit, was because Farrell's played 12 a lot, hasn't he, with Ford at 10. And now we've got no Manu as well. Manu's out. And you've lost your 10 in George Ford, who's out injured, and your 13 in Manu, who's out injured. So you've got to have new guys in there anyway. Does he go Farrell at 10, Slade and Jonathan Joseph in the centres, and then have Jacob on the bench? Because ultimately you've got to have another 10 on the bench, and Jacob's the only other 10 in the squad. So it's a big shock that Joe Simmons didn't get picked. And a big shock that Sam Simmons didn't get picked as well.
So why didn't he pick Joe Simmons, do you think? Like, what do you think the reasons are for him not to be in the squad?
I ain't got a Scooby, because there's no part of Joe Simmons' game that you look at and go, oh, you can see why he hasn't picked him on those grounds. I can't fault anything that Joe Simmons does on the rugby field or has done on the rugby field. I just don't see it. I don't see weakness. It's just Eddie's prerogative, isn't it? He chooses what he wants, and I think he enjoys sometimes not following the masses in terms of their opinion. And here we are. So I said it last week.
Yeah, sorry.
I said it last week. Joe Simmons is shit. Don't pick him, Eddie. He's shit. And
I did say that. I did say that about Sam as well.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. But you said it because you actually believed it.
But the thing is, well, Eddie Jones has come out in the media. I don't know if you've seen it. Said, people have asked him the question why, and it's not as if he's come out and said, "Oh, he's not ready," or "There's nothing in it." He's come out and said, "These are the 36 best players that they've picked." So he is saying that Joe doesn't fit into that 36 players in terms of his capabilities as it stands. Yeah. Like, he's come out, he sounded a bit pissed off. I mean, I read it. You can take that out of context, but it's, I don't know. But, mate, England have got so many good players. The interesting one for me, and the reason why he ain't come on the podcast, is Johnny Hill. I reckon he knows. He knows that he's in, mate. I think he's in. That's why he's not come on. But he ain't keen to talk about Bush before he plays a test match, which is beyond me. Bizarre. He was mad keen. He's gone all serious. Mate, you can't take you seriously with that beard.
Do you reckon his beard's going to go if he gets picked for England?
It'd have to. You can't be singing the anthem with that. You can't.
Goody, do you think Umanga will get a run on a debut?
Yeah, I hope so. I really do.
He might put Malins in, though, because Malins can play 10 and 15.
Yeah, but Malins hasn't played. He talks about players playing at the top level in the high intensity games. Malins hasn't played 10 in a high intensity game, has he? He's been unbelievable at fullback. Don't get me wrong.
Mate, certainly.
I understand that, but then Farrell goes down in the first minute, or Farrell gets sent off for another tackle. But no, he's been doing loads of tackle practice, really low. You've got to have someone there, and that's why I just don't understand how Joe Simmons isn't there. 9
uncapped players in the squad. Were you surprised at how fresh the squad looked?
No, I don't think so. I think, a lot of those players really deserve their opportunity, but also you look at the players that aren't there, and there's some that are not there through injury. So obviously we mentioned George Ford, Manu Tuolangi, Courtney Laws is injured. George Cruz has obviously gone now to Japan. Cowan Dickey, whichever one you want to call him, he's injured. Jack Noel. So there's a lot of players that have played a lot for Eddie Jones that are now, and there's an evolution of the squad perhaps, and especially this tournament, which, if we're being really honest, how much does this tournament mean in terms of the autumn? Yes, we go to Italy, we've got to win the game and get a bonus point to try and win the Six Nations, but it's actually a reasonably good opportunity for Eddie to change a few people in the squad and give some of the youngsters an opportunity that deserve it. And there are a number of players within that. 9 uncapped players. Ollie Lawrence, really excited.
I was going to, mate, how funny is that? How funny is that? We were sat with his old man at that dinner in Worcester, and he was like, my son's going to be amazing. We're like, all right, mate, yeah.
Well, I knew his son because he went to the same school as me, Bromsgrove.
Well, but you get that a lot, don't you? Like, people talking about their kids or whatever, and then you were like, mate, you need to look out for this kid. He's actually being genuine. Like, his son's pretty good. Mate, now look.
Yeah.
He knew. His dad knew, mate.
He did. Really good player. But it'd be interesting to see if he gets a sniff in the centres.
I think he might.
But then you've got to drop one of Slade or Jonathan Joseph for Lawrence to start.
I think you've got Lawrence and Slade.
Yeah. So, listen, there's a lot of young players that he's picked. Some cases through needs must because there's other injuries. And some cases, Jack Willis, you pick him every day. If you were naming a British and Irish Lawrence squad now, you pick Jack Willis in it, don't you? Let's hope he gets his opportunity for England.
How good was it to see our Celtic correspondent John Cooney being brought back into the Island squad?
For now.
Mate, it was only a matter of time, surely. It's one of those, and we spoke to Cooney about it. He was obviously disappointed. The ups and downs of rugby, etc. But anyone that's watched him play for Ulster over the last few weeks, he's played really well. And guys that tune in for Jim's coverage on Premier Sports,
the millions,
Ulster and John Cooney, they're back, and he's back in the squad. We're back on his bandwagon. John Cooney for the Lions.
Speaking of Ireland, it was a routine enough win for them over Italy at the weekend, but we thought we'd get the inside track on what the Irish public made of the performance and what Ireland's chances are of winning the Six Nations title this weekend by speaking to former Ireland and British and Irish Lions back rower Stephen Ferris. How are you, mate?
Not too bad at all, thank you.
Friend of the show, Stevie. Tell us, what's been happening then? What you've been up to today? I don't want to state the obvious, but you are slightly thinner on top than you were last year when we spoke to you. But that brings me on to the arms. So where my point that I was getting is that your arms are looking big. Have you been doing the triceps in the gym? Golf,
yeah,
what's been happening?
not too bad. Not too bad.
Mate, put them away.
I think we're all going a bit thinner on top, but I think that's just down to COVID-19. That's what I'm blaming anyway. But no, I haven't been up to much. I haven't played much golf. The old wrists have been a bit dodgy. A couple of steroid injections, like the good old days of playing rugby and having to get a needle put in there. But apart from that, I've just been lying low, lads. It's just good that the rugby's back, isn't it? We're all getting a bit of work again, isn't that right, boys?
Oh, mate, needed. What I will say though, Stevie, and I need to ask you about lockdown because the sunbed shops must be still open. You're looking pretty tanned as well. Are you been on the sunbeds or?
I haven't been on the sunbeds, Goody. No, it's just the good old Belfast weather, isn't it?
Oh, that rain! Yeah, that rain makes you go orange, right?
Yeah, I think it's wind blowing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Stevie, let's get straight into it, mate. We need to ask a hard question because we've got a new Celtic correspondent that comes on the pod. I don't think he might come on again. He's back in the Ireland squad. Mate, what the hell? What the flippity flip has happened to John Cooney, mate? What's happened?
What do you mean? He's been going all right, has he not?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, that's what I mean. But 1 minute he's going to be captain of the British and Irish Lions tours. Me and Goody are going there as his mates. And next thing he's been completely lobbed out the Irish squad. What's happened? Yeah,
certainly it's a strange one. I think with all the Ulster supporters, I suppose Connacht and Leinster supporters as well, it was a bit of a mystery. Why was he left out of that squad? Yes, he had a small blip in form, but geez, if you hadn't played rugby for over 6 months or whatever many weeks it was, of course it's going to take you a while to get up and running again. There was rumour that he had a small Achilles niggle as well, which was holding him back from practicing his kicking and everything else. But for me personally, I think if Dan McFarlane hadn't have dropped him for that game where Albie Mathewson came in, I think he probably would have been in the squad. And I think he's been showing his true worth over the last number of weeks because he's been back to his best. And that's brilliant to see.
Yeah, I should say, well, it is great, and he is back in the squad this week. Obviously, there's a bit of a tight hamstring for Jameson Gibson Park, who's a Kiwi, right?
Irish. He's Irish, mate.
Yeah, again, I seen Brian O'Driscoll during the week, and he's talking about who's got the best pass. Conor Murray's got the best pass. Then it's Jameson Gibson Park. Then it's who's the other one, Marmy, and he was kind of listening through, and I'm like, I'm not sure if you get selected in an Irish team just because of how good a pass that you've got. Yeah. I think John Cooney's got so much more to his bow, so many more strings to his bow than just a good pass. Conor Murray went off the boil for not 6 months without playing any rugby, but for 12 months while playing rugby, and he still managed to hold his place. I think something within the RFU is that, as you lads know, there's a lot of guys who are in there who are on national contracts, who are being paid by the RFU, being paid $500,000 by the RFU, and you will not see any of those lads not being selected in the squad. Now, they may not be selected in the Matchday 23, but they're always going to be in that squad. So, it's been difficult for John Cooney. I felt sorry for him when he was left out, but he showed his pedigree once again by the rugby that he's played over the last few weeks.
And what do you make of the game of the weekend, Stevie, against Italy? I don't want to be horrible to Italy, but comfortable for Ireland. Probably a good thing for them that they got Italy up first for their first game back after the break. What do you make of the performance and then going into this weekend's game?
Yeah, Jim, I think you can't look too much into it. When was the last time Italy won a Six Nations game? Well, you'll probably know this, Jim. It was against Scotland.
Was it?
26 games ago.
Oh, yeah, my word.
They haven't won a game in the Six Nations, as Goody says, for 26 games. And that was against Scotland. And it was 22-19.
It was close, mate.
Jim was vice captain. Jim was vice captain.
Jim, it was in Scotland. It wasn't in Italy.
Oh my word! It was close.
You were VC, Jim.
I weren't playing for sure.
Yeah, but Italy have only won 9 of their last 40 games. I think Ireland at the weekend, the points handicap with the bookies was 28 points. Ireland were always going to smash that. I think Italy are in a world of pain of where they're at. I put on Twitter the other day after the match that I thought, Italian rugby is in a bad place, and There is no room for people coming in these 5-year plans. And international rugby, as you lads know, it's about winning the next game. And if you lose the next game, you lose another one after that, all of a sudden you're a target and you're going to get replaced. I think Italy have just got to find a way over the next year or two to scrape a couple of wins, try and get a bit of confidence, and bleeding young players against Ireland away from home at out half and getting spanked by 50 points, and all they do is kick the leather off the ball back to Ireland. Like, that was a game where I would have loved to have played because it was just so easy for Ireland. And I think to see where Ireland are currently, this weekend will be a much better marker.
Well, one of the things we'll talk about from the game at the weekend is Hugo Keenan, because he scored 1 try in 20 games for Leinster. Now he's got 2 already for Ireland in his first game. So how good was he, and how much more of the production line is there from young players like him to come from Ireland that perhaps people don't know about?
Yeah, it should have been a half. I don't know why. Like, I thought it was a half decent bit of play. The small block. I think it was Lorenzini who was the guy that got blocked. He didn't wave his hands in the air to say, "Look, that's a penalty." So, but it was reviewed and it was taken back. Hugo Keenan, he's got pace to burn. He's a sevens player. He seems to have a really good engine as well. Didn't see too much of his kicking game. Obviously, that's why he was playing on the wing. But yeah, Jacob Stockdale and him seem to work reasonably well together. And yeah, we'll see a lot more of him, I'm sure, over the next number of months. Andrew Conway, it was like, we've all been talking about Andrew Conway and how good he's been, but sometimes games, the ball just doesn't come to you, and he sort of didn't get much possession. But yeah, the future looks bright, as always, for Ireland in the back three.
And the back row as well. Will Connors has been brilliant for Leinster, chop tackling machine. Hey, Dan Levy was back for Leinster at the weekend as well. How good was that? But do you reckon he can get back in? Or, I mean, Ireland just covered across the back row, really, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Like Josh van der Fleer, it's hard to believe that, he was starting for Ireland. Now Will Connors is in. You have Scott Penny that played for Leinster as well the other night. Jack Conan to come back. Yeah, it's just a conveyor belt of talent. You have, a £500,000 player and Peter O'Mahony sitting on the bench, and yes, Sonny Bill O'Mahony give that brilliant offload.
That was £500,000. And that's £500,000.
It was class. And people ask me about Peter, and is he on his way out? Is he over the hill? Like, he was only captain the Lions like a couple of years ago in the first test against New Zealand. I think he's still got a major part to play in this Irish squad going forward, especially over the next couple of years. But yeah, just so much talent there. Will Connors is exceptional, a real chop tackler, a bit like Dan Lydiot maybe. Back in, 2011 World Cup, just that chop tackle was really effective. So yeah, he's a really aggressive player. He seems a bit, he reads the game well too. He's quite smart. And yeah, even I was down covering the game, the Leinster versus Zebra game. It was, a complete walkover, and again, the back row were magnificent. So yeah, it's looking good there.
And where's Big Dev, mate? Where's Dev Toner? What's happened?
Mate, Dev Toner won his 250th 250th appearance for Leinster on Friday night. So yeah, he's still turning it out. No bother. He was out 50 minutes, cameo, 40 points up, away he went. So yeah, he's still turning it out, mate.
That's all I want to hear. I'm happy. I'm happy, man. Nothing more from me.
He's a legend. One of the players I want to ask you about, who's moved position slightly, you mentioned him earlier, he's also shaved his ridiculous lid off, is the stock horse, Jacob Stockdale. How do you think the move has gone to fullback? I know it's been part of something that different people are looking at, but do you think that's him there now for the future? Because there has been issues defensively for his reads on the wing as well. Yeah,
like if you look at that quarter-final against Toulouse away, and I think he missed 4 out of 6 tackles or something that day, and was all over the place. But when you're surrounded by top drawer players like he is down in Ireland, I think it makes your job a little bit easier. And of course, if you're playing against Italy, it makes it a lot easier. So yeah, but positionally he was good. He counter-attacked when he needed to. Yeah, like I think Andy Farrell's hand has maybe been forced a little because of the Jordan Larmour injury. Would Jordan Larmour be playing fullback, or would he be on the wing? I'm just not sure. But yeah, we'll see. I think Andy Farrell's probably going to go with pretty much the same team that started there at the weekend against France. And again, that'll be a true reflection of where he's at. But yeah, he's picked up a bit of form. He had a really good game for Ulster, absolutely brilliant game for Ulster against the Ospreys, when we were covering it for Premier Sports there a couple of weeks ago, and he was magnificent. So he's just getting into a bit of form, and he seems a bit of a confidence player, and hopefully he can maintain that.
Stevie, I'm not looking for headlines here, but you might give us one. What's going to happen, or when do you think Johnny Sexton will move aside? I'm not saying that he has to, but I'm just thinking.
Horrible to Sexton?
No, I'm not being horrible. I'm
You're
looking.
always being horrible to Sexton, my mate from the pool in Portugal. Leave him alone, mate.
Mate, he's been unbelievable, but at some point he can't keep going until he's 45, can he? So who's the next 10 in line, do you think?
I probably disagree with you. I think he thinks that he can go until he's 45.
Yeah.
You know, I think that he is. He's such a competitor. He come up through under 19s, under 21s with me. Like, we were touring Argentina in the under 21 World Cup. You know,
is he loose or not? He
was, wasn't he?
No comment. And we were playing against Ruan Pinar, who's playing for South Africa under 21s at that stage, and he was behind Gareth Steenson at certain times as well. And then all of a sudden he just flourished. And he always had the confidence and belief in himself. And I think once that goes, if he doesn't believe in himself, once that goes, then I think that'll be the time that he hangs up the boots. But at the minute, he certainly believes that he can go out there and do a job. He's the captain of Ireland. He's leading by example. He had a pretty good game at the weekend, missed one kick at goal. So, yeah. And who's going to fill those boots? Big boots to fill.
And let's talk about this weekend's game then, Stevie. Ultimately, Ireland know that if they get a bonus point victory, they win the Six Nations. I think they've only ever scored 4 tries in Paris once, and that was in defeat. How do you think they're going to approach the game? Are they going to be thinking bonus point victory, or are they going to be thinking, let's just try and win the game? Because ultimately, they'll actually know, come kick-off, what is required from a points perspective in terms of the points difference to win the championship as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think Ireland's defence at the weekend, they were shooting off the line, massive energy, intensity. And then, the way France play, the way Racing play, chips in behind, I think they'll try and turn this Irish team a bit as well. I just think it's a game that Ireland need to go over there and roll their sleeves up. They're not the biggest side. Tag Burn in the second row. James Ryan, he's a big unit, but you wouldn't say he's a 120 kg lock that runs around bashing boys. I think when you're missing Tag Furlong as well in the front row, you've got Porter there, who's a great backup to come on. So if they win that battle up front, then they'll certainly give themselves a chance. Of course, we say that in every match, but they've been to Paris, they've won in Paris, but getting 4 tries and getting a bonus point is certainly going to be a hard thing to do.
All right, Stevie, thanks for joining us, mate. Appreciate it.
Cheers, boys. Thanks as always.
And a couple more international warm-up games ahead of the Six Nations round and the Autumn Nations Cup to talk about. Jim, you were at Murrayfield for Scotland v Georgia.
Mate, easy win for Scotland. It was good to see Finn get back out there and draw a line.
And get his 50.
Mate, he was throwing some unbelievable passes, albeit against a couple of bin men. But
big bin men, though.
Mate, well, yeah, mate, they were big. But, mate, them Georgians haven't played, most of them ain't played since February or something. That's the first hit out. So you're thinking Scotland are going to win comfortably. Duhan van der Merwe, who's been carving it for Edinburgh, he started on the wing, scored a decent try. They actually dealt with him quite well, to be fair. Ollie Kebble as well, big, massive Glasgow, Lucid, dyes his hair blonde or white, whatever. Mate, hey, look, there's no point talking too much about that game. They've got Wales this week. I genuinely think, this ain't me being stupid now, do I or not?
No, don't do it.
I'm so 100% sure, and I genuinely
think I'm not. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe Scotland I just thought about what I was going to say.
Scotland to beat Wales into Leffley. It's not at the Cardiff Stadium. It's not at the Principality. There's no fans, and I think Wales are under massive pressure now. Massive pressure where there's no pressure on Scotland. You smashed Georgia, you smashed France, you smashed Italy. Mate, there's a good chance we'll win on the weekend. How good? How good? Mate, what's happened to Wales? People are giving me shit for not picking them as Lions, British and Irish Lions. Mate, there you go. No comment, eh? No comment, lads.
Yeah, they didn't go too well in Paris, did they?
They got hosed a bit, to be fair. Their defence was all over the shop, and, that's what happens. Sean Edwards leaves, your defence becomes more porous, and then actually France, who defended really well at times, Their defence was phenomenal, which isn't normally what you expect from a French team. But hey, listen, Wales are a bit of an enigma at the minute, aren't they? You know, some parts of the game were really good. Other parts of it, it was literally like there was 15 lads chucked together from a park team in Wales playing at the Stade de France against a French team that are basically, if you've got Vakatawa in the team and you've got Dupont, you're winning most of your games. Those two were ridiculous. Vakatawa with his offload game, making breaks, offloading out the back, just run off him, mate. And Dupont, his support lines and how quick he is, he looks tiny. He looks way quicker than he should be, but he's an absolute rock star. So with those two boys in the team, they rip Wales to pieces at times.
Mate, we said, didn't we, France could be proper good, eh? Well, they are proper good, but as in, like, they could become the number one team. IMO.
Yeah. And Camel shout the shout as well.
Mate, my neck.
Well, Budgie Smuggler are on board with us again this week, and we've had loads of weird stuff come in about the limited edition Rugby Pod Budgies for the weirdest has to go to Bonobo Jack on Twitter, who overheard some fella down at the pub saying his cows struggle to swim because they can't close their anus, so they fill up with water and eventually drown if they're not careful. That's quite weird, isn't it, boys?
Is that legit or not, though?
I just think that's stupid. That ain't even weird. I mean, that's stupid. Anyone that thinks that, their anus fills up with water so they drown.
Well, I don't get it. Is this true or not? Or is this not true? Is that the crux of the jokes?
I reckon that's made up.
You don't know for sure. Do you? It's one of these things you don't know for sure.
And what pub's he gone to? Is it a COVID secure pub or what's happening there? Where is he in the world?
Are the blinds down? That's all we need to know.
Mate.
Are the blinds
If the blinds are down, boys, it's game on.
Mate, all right, goes. That's good to know, mate. Put your mask on, eat out, help out. What? Don't go out. Go out. What?
Get involved and keep sending us the weirdest thing you've seen this week. Just tweet us or send us the weirdest thing you've seen or heard, whether it's on social media, in the news, or from your local pub, and tag us and at Budgie Smuggler, and you will be in with a chance of winning a pair of Budgie Smugglers. And check out their website as well, because they've got loads of masks, hoodies, shirts, and jumpers for sale in their winter range. Just head to budgiesmuggleruk.com if you're interested in those. We'll get on to the final round of the Six Nations in just a second, but first of all, we have an offer from our friends over at Lovell Rugby. They're very excited to announce the new British and Irish Lions shirt and training gear will be launching on Lovell Rugby tomorrow at 9 a.m. And if you use the code RugbyPod15, you'll be able to get 15% off on that, and that'll be cheaper than anywhere else on the market. So just go over to lovellsports.com and use the code RugbyPod15 to get 15% off.
Do you think if I buy that stuff, I'm going to look too desperate or not?
Yeah.
Or do you think I can pull it off?
I think you'll be fine, mate. I think you'll be fine.
No, you're taking the piss, Andy, right?
Get the beanie as well.
Yeah.
So you look
well,
like
I ain't going to get a
stuff.
beanie, am I? Because that makes me look too desperate there if you've got a beanie.
Mate, just save it, right? Save it, and then in 3 months' time, just post a picture on social going, I've just got sent this through from the British and Irish Lions.
With my contract from before.
You're saying there's a chance. There you go.
I'm going to do it.
Well, there's a ton of international rugby coming up in the months ahead, and the Guinness Pint Predictor from Match Pint is back, which means you can prove that you know more than Jim and Goodey about rugby, and more importantly, win a free pint every weekend this autumn by predicting the results. How are things going in the Rugby Pod League, guys?
Statistically, the number don't sound great, but in terms of the Rugby Pod, it is great. I'm 380th. And I look further down, and I've got to go way down. Goody, what's wrong with you?
Well, mate, let's just talk about this weekend just gone.
No. It doesn't matter about this weekend.
I predicted Ireland to win by 40, and you ridiculed me. And then if it wasn't for bloody old... Hold on, what's his name?
Keenan.
If it wasn't for bloody old Paolo Garbisi...
Paolo Nadini, or whatever his name is.
I mean... He scores the try with the last play of the game, and it was a 40 point. It was 50 points to 10 at the time. An exact result for me. I said 40 points to Ireland.
And then he scores a try.
Scores a try the last play of the game. It's a 33 pointer. So anyway, I beat you this week.
So where are you then? So where are you in the league, in the Rugby Pod?
I'm below you because I had some fat fingers and I said that France would beat Scotland.
2,689th. Just FYI. MIO.
I must be above that now.
Shocking.
Shall we get your predictions on what's going to happen this weekend then, boys?
Yeah, I just told you one earlier. Scotland, mate, going to beat Wales.
By how much?
Oh, I don't know, mate. You're asking me. Too much detail. I'm going to say by 8.
Really?
I'm going to put it in the match point predictor, mate. That's how genuinely, I believe in myself and my boys. Scotland by 8.
Okay.
You know, Wales are going to have that up in the Shades Room wall, you know, because they're going to put that up. Former Scotland great, Jim Hamilton.
I'm back in Wales. I'm back in Wales. A couple of things, really.
Off the back of what?
A couple of things. Basically, they have been absolutely garbage, so they're going to have an absolute rollicking this week from Wayne Pivac. When everyone's going against you, like people are called for Wayne Pivac's head already. I'm like, come on, boys, he's only just taken over in a year when they played a couple of games, then had about 6 months off, and then they're back again, and they got hosed by France. So, for that reason, and the fact that Alan Wynne-Jones will be breaking the world record for the most number of caps ever, taking over from the legendary Richie McCaw, or is he Sir Richie McCaw now? I don't know.
He turned down the knighthood.
Did he say no to a knighthood?
Why?
Yeah, because in New Zealand, you can get a knighthood, but then you can get on the New Zealand something that's higher than that, and he went for that.
Oh,
God.
Yeah, he's basically God in New Zealand. Yeah.
Showing that Alan Wynne-Jones is breaking the record for the most number of Test caps. Firstly, behind closed doors at Stradley Park, Celestly, and not at the Principality. And not imagine that place being full and him walking on the field.
I'd be crying. Matt, I'd be crying, I think.
Breaking the record.
With jealousy. I'd be crying with jealousy.
So, for those two reasons, I am going Wales by 7.
Italy v England.
England by 50.
Goodey.
Yeah. England by 45.
France and Ireland.
France by 12.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to back Ireland, I think. Ireland by 3.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Well, congratulations to Ed Ralph, who's leading the way in the Rugby Pod League at the moment. We're going to be playing this right the way through to December for the upcoming international games. That's 19 games to predict and 19 chances to win a free pint. Don't worry if you weren't playing back in the spring. You can still join and win yourself free pints every weekend. To play, just download the Match Pint app from all good app stores and predict the winner and margin of each game. Give it a go and make sure you join our league by using the code RugbyPod as well. Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Producer Tim. And thank you for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe on whatever platform you get your podcasts on. Leave us a review and check us out on YouTube as well.
Rugby. How good?
Pod. That was good, mate.
How good, mate? How good? I pulled the mic away just at the last minute just to give it that depth.
Yeah, mate.
You are the Beyonce of Edinburgh.
Pod.